The soldier's feet were tightly chained by his teammates, and the other end of the chain was securely nailed to a rock. His teammates left him with just a sniper rifle, a few bullets, and some food. His task was to stay here and stop the Soviet soldiers. Before leaving, his teammates warned him not to attack them from behind, or they'd shoot him. Once they left, he quickly picked up the sniper rifle and assembled the stock. By the time he finished assembling the rifle, the teammates were already gone, lost in the distant woods. He had to find a way to escape. If the Soviet army found him, he'd be in deep trouble. He aimed the rifle at the chain and fired, but the chain was too thick, and his shot didn't break it. He screamed in pain. With no other choice, he started searching his belongings, and then he found his glasses. A sudden idea flashed through his mind. He took out the lenses, pressed them together, chewed on a pine branch, and spat out the pine sap to glue the edges of the lenses. Once the sap solidified, he found a hollow twig and inserted it into the gap, took a sip of water, and poured it into the lenses, creating a simple magnifying lens. He stacked dry grass above the chain, aimed the lenses at the sun, and set the grass on fire, adding some dry twigs to make the flames burn hotter. When the twigs burned out, he quickly poured a cup of cold water onto the rock, using the heat expansion and contraction to crack the stone near the chain. He easily pried open the cracked stone, but it wasn't enough to fully free the chain, so he repeated the process, and after days of effort, he dug a deep hole around the chain, giving him hope. While he was resting and eating, he suddenly saw Soviet soldiers pass by. Luckily, they were just passing through and didn't notice him. At this time, 2 planes suddenly appeared in the air. They bombed the Soviet soldiers who had just passed by fiercely. He quickly hid, terrified. He knew he had to move faster, as enemies could show up at any moment. However, the bad luck didn't end there. All the twigs around him had been burned. He pulled hard on the chain, but it was nailed too deeply to move. At this rate, he would be discovered by the enemy, and worse, he might starve to death here. He took out his remaining bullets, removed the bullet heads, collected the gunpowder inside, poured it around the chain, added dry grass, and piled some stones to make a simple bomb, which he planned to use to blow the chain open. He lit the dry grass and quickly hid. After hearing a loud explosion, he rushed over to check. The chain was loosened. He kicked it a few times, and the nails began to loosen. Using the rifle strap, he hooked a distant rock, grabbed it, and started smashing the nails. He kept hitting the nails from day to night. Finally, with all his strength, he pulled the chain, and after a great effort, he finally pulled out the nail. He was free at last.